pass, too.
Nicely done to get it inside to Mitchell.
Okay, listener, get ready to dive deep into a matchup that really had everything.
Yeah, it really did. You had the WNBA's last undefeated team, the New York Liberty.
Right, facing the Indiana Fever, who are, finally getting their superstar back after she'd been out injured.
So what happens when that perfect streak meets a huge return like that?
Well, based on the sources we've got here, you get a pretty dramatic upset. That's
Exactly. And that's what this deep dive is all about. We're focusing only on this specific game, June 14th, 2025.
Indiana Fever beating the New York Liberty 102-88.
And we've pulled together, this stack of articles, reports, all the notes just about this one game.
The goal here is really to give you the shortcut to cut through all the noise and understand what mattered.
We'll unpack the key moments, the big performances, and what this game really means, all based strictly on what's in these sources.
Okay, so let's set the scene a bit. Clark had missed, 5 games?
5 games, yeah. With a quad strain, some sources say thigh. Happened in the last game against the Liberty, actually, back on May 24th.
So this was her first game back in over 2 weeks.
Right, and the Liberty, they were rolling. 9-0, perfect record.
While the Fevers were kind of treading water at 5-5, they went 2-3 without her.
And this game was in Indy, Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Plus, it counted for both the regular season and the Commissioner's Cup.
Which, as the sources point out, just added another layer of intensity right from the jump.
Definitely.
So how did things actually play out on the court, according to these reports?
Well, the Liberty, they actually started strong. The reports show they jumped out ahead pretty quickly, like 13-6, maybe 4 minutes in.
Okay, so they grabbed that early momentum.
Yeah, and they held on to it through the first quarter. They were up 26-24 at the end of one.
But the sources seem to immediately point to something late in that quarter as like a real turning point. Clark's return really announcing itself.
Oh, it was explosive. Sources describe her scoring 9 points in just, 38 seconds. It was incredibly fast.
And how she did it is just wild. 3 straight threes from deep.
Yeah, deep threes. The reports give distances like 33 feet, 27 feet, 31 feet. Add that up, it's 93 feet of combined range.
I mean, the WNBA line is 22 feet. She was way, way beyond it.
And that burst just seemed to get her completely locked in. One report mentioned Marie Johannes was guarding her for a couple of those, and, well, she didn't have much chance.
You could feel the energy shift, right?
Yeah.
For the team, the crowd.
Totally. And that spark definitely carried through the rest of the first half for Clark.
Her first half numbers were pretty eye-popping.
Phenomenal first half. She put up 25 points. Sources confirm that's a career high for her in a WNBA first half.
Wow. And the efficiency from 3.
Incredible. She hit 6 out of 9 threes before halftime. The reports even list the distances again, 34, 28, 31, 27, 31, 27 feet. Just bomb after bomb.
And all that scoring helped the Fever take the lead into the half, 53-50.
Which was significant because, according to the reports, that was the very first time all season the Liberty had trailed at halftime.
First time for the undefeated team. That's big.
Yeah. So moving into the third quarter, it was a bit back and forth at first. The Liberty actually came out strong again.
They had a run, didn't they?
They did. A 9-0 run to take the lead back for a moment.
But the Fever had an answer.
A decisive one. Multiple sources point to this massive run, right after some say 19 era, some say 17 era, but either way, it was huge.
Okay, that built them a pretty good cushion then.
Yeah, they went into the fourth quarter leading 80-71.
But the Liberty, being undefeated, you know they're going to fight back in the fourth.
Oh, for sure. They didn't just roll over. They battled back, cut the lead down to just 3 points. It was 85-82 with about 6 minutes left.
Getting tight again.
Felt like it could go either way, but just like in the third, the Fever responded when pressured. Reports show they ripped off a 14-2 run right after that.
And that was pretty much the dagger.
That pulled them away for good, secured the 102-88 win, and notably, that was the first time the Fever scored over 100 points this season.
So a really dynamic game flow. Let's dig into Clark's individual performance a bit more. Her return was obviously the main narrative.
Absolutely. Her final numbers were, the big headline.
What did the stat line look like?
She finished with 32 points. It's a season high. And some sources said it tied her WNBA career high. She also had 8 rebounds, 9 assists.
9 assists. Tied her career high there, too.
Tied her career high, plus 2 blocks. The downside, 7 turnovers in her 31 minutes.
Still, impressive numbers coming off an injury, and the shooting efficiency, especially from 3.
Really solid. Overall, 11 for 20 from the field, that's 55%.
From deep.
7 for 14 from 3, 50%. At the line, 3 for 5. And those 7 threes, sources point out, tied her career high for makes in a game.
Wow. And put her close to the league record, too.
Within 2, yeah. The record's 9. So she was really feeling it from range.
But it wasn't just her scoring, right? The sources mention her overall offensive impact.
That's a really key takeaway here. They note she directly accounted for 54 of the Fever's points, either scoring herself or assisting on baskets.
54 points generated. That's huge.
Yeah, and there's this specific stat highlighted. This was her 9th career game where she scored or assisted on at least 50 points.
9th time already.
Yeah, puts her just 1 behind Diane Taurasi's WNBA record of 10 such games. Just shows how much of the offense runs through her.
And the Liberty obviously knew that. They tried different things defensively against her.
They did. Reports say New York used 7 different primary defenders on her throughout the night, trying to find something that worked.
And did anything work particularly well or poorly?
Well, it was kind of a tale of 2 matchups based on the stats. When Breanna Stewart was the primary defender, Clark was just 1 for 5, only scored 3 points.
Okay, so Stewart had some success.
Definitely. But against the other 6 defenders combined, Clark was lights out, 10 for 15 shooting, scored 29 points against them.
So finding someone other than Stewart to slow her down was a real issue for New York.
Exactly. And there's that one anecdote, right, about her hitting a super deep 3 over Stewart.
Yeah, what did the report say about that?
That Clark hit this incredibly deep shot, and Stewart just sort of laughed, almost like, what can you even do about that? It kind of captures the moment.
After that huge first half, the sources mentioned Coach Stephanie White had a specific plan for her in the second half.
That's right. The reporting suggests Coach White wanted Clark to maybe pull back from always looking for the home run play.
Let's focus more on
managing the game, running simpler offense, leaning on her teammates more, especially with the lead.
Makes sense. Did Clark comment on that?
She did mention something interesting. Said that watching from the sidelines while injured, she tracked the team's empty possessions.
Ah, so she gained an appreciation for just making the simple play, limiting those wasted trips.
Exactly. Seemed like that time off gave her some perspective there.
Now, while Clark's return was obviously huge, the sources are pretty clear this wasn't just her. The whole Fever team stepped up.
Absolutely crucial point. Kelsey Mitchell had a really strong game, 22 points.
And Aaliyah Boston.
Boston delivered a double-double. 10 points, 11 rebounds, and she added 6 assists too. Really solid all-around game.
Any other key contributors mentioned?
Lexi Hull had 14 points, and she was efficient from 3. Hit 3 out of 4. And Sydney Colson, she provided a spark off the bench.
Colson had her first double-digit game, didn't she?
Yeah, 10 points and 6 assists for Colson. And the sources specifically called out the combined scoring punch from Colson, Hull, and Demira Stantis.
How many did they have together?
29 points combined from those 3. That kind of bench production was highlighted as really key against a tough Liberty defense, even a shorthanded one.
And speaking of bench impact, Sophie Cunningham's return was noted too, but maybe not for scoring.
Right, her plus-minus was the thing that stood out in the reports. She played 24 minutes, modest stats otherwise, but the team was a plus 31 when she was on the floor.
Plus 31, that's a huge impact number.
Massive. Shows how much better the team functioned with her out there, doing things that don't always show up in the basic box score.
So the team effort led to some big offensive numbers for the Fever overall.
Definitely. That 102 points was their season high, and they set a franchise record with 17 made threes.
17 threes on how many attempts?
35 attempts. So that's what, 48.6%? Really efficient shooting from deep as a team, and reports said they were hitting them consistently all game long.
Of course, even in a big win like this, the sources usually find areas for improvement, right?
Always. 2 things were mentioned specifically for the Fever. One was free throw shooting.
What was the issue there?
As a team, they only shot 68% from the line in this game. And sources noted that several players' free throw percentages are way down this year compared to last season. Something to watch.
Okay, and the other area?
Missed layups. Described in one report as painful to watch, easy points left on the board, and potentially cost Clark a few more assists too.
Right. But despite those issues, this win has got to be framed as a huge confidence booster for Indiana.
Oh, absolutely. The sources talk about it proving what this Fever team can be when they have Clark playing like this.
Even with the caveat that the Liberty were missing players.
Right, they acknowledge that, and that the Fever still struggled inside sometimes. But the key thing, compared to the last time they played the Liberty, was closing it out. They held the lead, they executed down the stretch. That's big for their confidence.
Okay, let's flip to the other side. For the Liberty, this loss meant the end of their perfect start.
Yep, first loss of the season, snapped that 9-game winning streak. They were the last undefeated team standing in the WNBA.
And as we mentioned, the sources are quick to point out they weren't playing with a full deck.
Crucial context, for sure.
Yeah.
Missing 2 key starters. Jonquil Jones, former MVP, finals MVP. She was out with an ankle injury. Expected back soon, though.
And the other starter missing.
Leonie Fibic. She was away playing for her national team at Eurobasket.
How much did the absence of Jones in particular seem to hurt them, according to the reports?
Quite a bit, especially defensively. Sources noted Jones was really effective against the Fever in their previous matchup, especially late in the game.
And without her and Fibic, that number 1 ranked defense?
It definitely slipped.
Yeah.
They allowed that season-high 53 points in the first half. Reports talk about breakdowns, trouble containing the Fever's role players, giving up too many open looks.
Did Coach Brandello comment on the defense?
Yeah, there were quotes from her in the sources pointing directly to those defensive breakdowns and a lack of communication being problems in this game.
Offensively, though, their main stars still put up numbers.
They did. Sabrina Ionescu had a huge game, season-high 34 points for her, and Breanna Stewart added 24.
So 58 points just from those 2.
Still a lot of firepower. Nara Staboli stepped into the starting lineup. She chipped in 10 points and 9 rebounds. Kennedy Burke started 2, but struggled offensively, only 3 points.
So overall, how are the Liberty viewing this loss based on the reports?
As a learning opportunity, mainly. Coach Brandello framed it that way, pointing to those defensive issues in communication as things they absolutely need to clean up.
Okay. Moving beyond the game itself, this matchup had some pretty significant implications, right? Especially for the Commissioner's Cup.
It really did. So after this game, both teams are now 3-1 in the Cup standings in the East.
But the Fever won this head-to-head, so they get the tiebreaker.
Exactly. Indiana now holds that crucial head-to-head tiebreaker.
And what does that mean for the Cup race?
It means, according to these sources, that Indiana is now in the driver's seat to represent the East in the Commissioner's Cup championship game.
Which is against Seattle, right? On July 1st.
Correct. Assuming the Fever win their last Cup game, they should be in. And the sources make sure to mention the prize money involved.
How much is it?
A $500,000 prize pool for the winning team. So real money on the line there.
The reports also picked up on some of the wider buzz around this game, online chatter and stuff.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of talk captured about Clark's range, those crazy deep threes, people debating that.
What else?
Commentary on other players, good and bad performances being discussed. Some talk about the officiating 2 missed calls, a controversial review on a 3-pointer.
And wasn't there something about the broadcast audio?
Oh yeah, multiple sources and fan comments mentioned this persistent issue with a, quote, screaming fan being really audible on the broadcast feed, apparently quite distracting.
Huh, okay. And naturally, a game like this stirs up that ongoing debate about Clark's impact on the league itself.
For sure. The sources frame that core debate. Does the WNBA need Caitlin Clark?
How did the different sides break down in the reports?
Well, some reports lean into the idea that, yes, she's essential for bringing in those casual fans, driving rapid growth. They often cite the reported drop in TV ratings when she was out injured as evidence.
And the other side of the argument
is that, true sustainable growth comes from highlighting all the stars, all the different storylines across the league, not just focusing so heavily on one player. It's a recurring theme.
Any notable figures weighing in?
LeBron James apparently hyped up Clark's return on social media. Just shows her reach, right? That crossover appeal.
Definitely. Did the sources look ahead at all? Mention any potentially tough future matchups for the Fever based on this game?
A couple were flagged based on style of play. The Atlanta Dream were mentioned for their physical defense.
Okay. Anyone else?
The Seattle Valkyries, too. Noted for being physical and having strong three-point shooting themselves. So suggesting those could be challenging games for Indiana down the road.
Okay, let's wrap this deep dive up then. We've gone through Caitlin Clark's huge return game, the Fever's really impressive team win with record shooting,
and the Liberty taking their first loss, which shakes up the Commissioner's Cup race, and maybe raises some questions about their defense when they're not at full strength.
And by sticking just to the stack of sources about this one game, hopefully we've given you, the listener, a really detailed, fact-based picture of what went down.
Yeah, the key stats, the player performances, team dynamics.
Yeah.
It's all here in the reports, giving you that context beyond just the final score. You've got the info now to really get what happened in this pivotal game.
So we always like to leave you with something to think about. Here's one. With that Commissioner's Cup final potentially on the line for Indiana and this regular season series now tied 1-1.
How is this Fever Liberty rivalry going to evolve? Especially when key players like Jonquil Jones get back healthy for New York.
Yeah, and maybe consider how a game like this where Clark's star power is undeniable, but the team effort was also so crucial. How does that shake the conversation around the league's growth this season? Someone to chew on.